Hello again, everyone. We have more to tell about the story of the struggle between Professor X and his old enemy Lucifer. Remember, we've seen him before and we see him again. He is hiding out in the southwest United States, underground, and he has just been contacted by Professor X's great mental power. And so he's going to use that mental power to attack Professor X. Remember this gigantic machine that rose out of the mesa and is firing a great energy wave. Zzz. All right, this energy wave is released out into the atmosphere. And Lucifer realizes that now that Xavier has found him with his mental power, that he can use that mental wave to attack the professor. And so this potent beam is going to ride the professor's own mental waves back to the source, back to the professor himself. And so he is going to attack and attempt to paralyze the professor. What can he do? Well, let's look and see. All right, a continent away, back in New York State, at the X-Men's headquarters, we find Marvel Girl and the professor. The professor has this device that has helped him to extend his mental power. He says, with this device, I have mentally pinpointed our hidden antagonist. Marvel Girl asks, Professor, who is it? Can you tell me? So, says the professor, it is he. I should have known. And so he realizes who it is. But, oh no, suddenly without warning, before the mutant leader can answer the anxious Marvel Girl, he realizes he's attacking me through my own mind. No time to prepare a defense. My brain, it's on fire. Oh, what's happening? This energy wave that Lucifer has sent back has found Professor X and is attacking him in his brain. And then there's silence. Marvel Girl looks and sees that he's so still. She asks, Professor, what's happened? He's so rigid, so unmoving. It's almost as if, but no, he can't be dead. He just can't be. I must check to see if his heart still beats. And so she rests her head against the professor's chest and she says, thank heaven, he's alive, and yet his heartbeat is so slow. He must be continuing to breathe by sheer mental effort, but he cannot move. Did you know that you can hear a person's heartbeat if you place your ear next to his or her chest? I bet y'all could hear each other's heartbeat if you listen closely enough. And that's what Marvel Girl is doing. And look, she's hearing his mental response. He says, that is correct, Jean. You must use the mental wave amplifier at once. And she realizes, in my mind, I can read his thoughts, but they're faint, distant. And so, complying with Professor X's urgent command, Jean abruptly discovers the mental wave amplifier, and she realizes why now your thoughts are coming through more clearly. Good, thinks the professor, then heed my words, for I may have little time. What do you mean? Asks Jean. Who is responsible for your plight? This is the work of one whose powers and purpose stagger the mortal imagination, the one that I know only by his earthly name of Lucifer. Lucifer, thinks Marvel Girl, then he has returned. Yes, responds the professor. So listen closely to the tale of my first encounter with him. Listen, for the fate of all humanity hangs in the balance. And so we're going to listen in on Professor X's memory of Lucifer. He's going to tell us the tale. He says, some years ago, fascinated by tales, I had heard of a mysterious walled city in the shadow of the Himalayas. I journeyed through the rugged terrain of Tibet. This is very far away in Asia. You might ask your dad to show you a map or a globe to show you where Tibet and the Himalayas are. They're very far away. And as he approaches in his jeep, he thinks, this is my destination. I seem to sense some ominous, unseen menace which lies within. It's as though my entire life, my ultimate destiny, were somehow bound up behind these grim, gray walls. At the gate, my suspicions were confirmed. There are two guards who say it is forbidden that any outsider may pass this gate, yet I believe you should be allowed admittance. Thank you, says the professor. My mission is one of peace, I assure you. But then he thinks, these two are under the mental domination of another's brain. I can feel it. Inside the city, I was aware of sinister eyes focused upon me. As look, Lucifer is watching from above. He thinks, so a visitor has come. He will bear close watching. And the professor is thinking, the thought waves of these people, they indicate abject fear of the tyrant who rules them. And then the professor speaks out loud, come, is there one who would speak to a wayfarer in a strange land? And here one of the residents says, I will speak to you, my son. What do you wish to know? I am intrigued by your great walled city, and I wish an audience with its ruler. Nay, answers the local man, but that is impossible, for our master dwells within yonder citadel, and even we are never permitted to gaze upon him. The professor probes the man's mind, and he realizes, I can tell he speaks the truth. And then he asks, how long has this man been your overlord? I do not know, my son. It is as if time has ceased to exist for us since his coming. Now I must go. I can say no more. Professor thinks, amazing, my silent probing reveals highly complicated machinery inside the tyrant's domicile. But how and why? I must probe further and lay bare the secrets of these devices. But look, he's at a moat with a drawbridge that has been raised. How will he enter? Exercising my mental powers to the fullest extent, I made an incredible discovery. And so we can see his eyes probing the inside of this walled castle. It says, these then are the source of the tyrant's power, but they are made of metals not found on earth. The one who holds this city in his sway is from another world. Oh my, from outer space, an explorer who has invaded Earth. Evidently, the machines enable the alien to control selected minds among the populace, and these in turn keep the other citizens in line. Obviously, there is much more to this situation than the mere enslavement of one lone village. Hastily locating some of the more rebellious elements of the area, I outlined a plan to them. And so the professor has assembled some men who might help him in opposing the tyrant who is hidden away. He speaks, then I can render your nameless master helpless if you will help me storm his palace. Aye, that we will do, answers one of them. We have long awaited a leader in our struggle against that unseen fiend. But here's one fellow who's not going to comply with the professor. He thinks that foreign devil must not leave this dwelling alive. And look, he's got his hand on a knife. Professor continues with his tale, but I had underestimated the true cunning and power of my relentless, vigilant foe. For even after I had mentally screened my comrades, he took control of the brain of one of them. And so, the professor speaks, by means you would not understand, I have located a tunnel into the castle. Once inside, we will overthrow any guards, and your ancient homeland will be free again. One of the fellows says, free? Dare we hope for such a thing? Long ago we were our own masters. Can such a day dawn once more? And the professor answers, it can, if you act swiftly. Oh, but look, here is the other fellow with his knife drawn, and he thinks, now I strike death to all who would rebel. And so he uses his knife and cuts a rope, and that brings the chandelier crashing down. Look out, cries the professor. That chandelier, it's falling. And the professor thinks, luckily my mutant brain sensed treachery from someone in the room, and not a moment too soon. One fellow asks, hold, what traitor's deed is this? And then another man realizes, the master, he knows of our plot against him. I have the villain, says one, he shall menace us no more. And so look, one of the rebels has grabbed the traitor and has made him drop his knife. Oh, says the fellow who had tried to end the rebellion. And the professor says, the tyrant must be aware of our plans. Our only chance is to act now. We shall follow where you lead, outsider. Then come swiftly, says the professor. Even now he may be preparing his defenses. As we approach the tunnel, there's Lucifer, and on the screen he's watching. He says, the fools, did they think me ignorant of that corridor beneath this ancient citadel? The merest flick of a switch, and it shall become their tomb. And look, he reaches for a lever. Rumble. And the rebels say that rumbling, the walls themselves are closing in on us. Nothing can stop them. We followed the stranger to our doom. But the professor runs ahead. He says, no, don't give up. Keep struggling. There is still a way. And he thinks, and I must hope and pray that my mutant brain can locate the machinery which moves these walls within moments. Fortunately, the fates were with me, tells the professor, and 15 anxious seconds later, I found it. Already, as I ripped these essential wires, the walls begin to open again. And so he has discovered mentally where the control wires are, and so he's ripped them apart. That has ended the danger for now. He says, but wait, that hissing sound behind me. A ball of fire rushing towards us through the tunnel. No place to run, yet there is still a chance. What will he do with this fireball coming at him? While probing the chamber a minute ago, I detected a hatch placed here. And so he opens the hatch, and here comes the water from the moat into that chamber. He says that he realizes the townspeople are momentarily engulfed by the water, but the fireball is extinguished as swoosh, the water comes in. And professor thinks our foe has failed again. And indeed, just a short time later, the professor says that I cut off the supply of water, and the flood drained away immediately. And now he speaks, the hour is at hand. We have reached the castle of the tyrant. And the professor thinks, at this distance, I can use my own mind to protect theirs from the enemy's influence. And the rebel says, long shall this day live in our memories. Have you noticed, I probably should have mentioned it earlier, that the professor is walking? This means that this story takes place before the professor lost the use of his legs. And the professor continues his story to Marvel Girl. In another subterranean, that is, under the earth, in a subterranean section of the palace, Lucifer says the intruder is a formidable opponent. Still, he is foredoomed to failure when matched against my superior might. Now, beep, 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 beep. Wait, says Lucifer, there's the signal of the Supreme One. So Lucifer has a boss that he has to answer to. And here he is. Oh my, he's even more awesome with these lightning bolts on his forehead. And he speaks on this viewfinder. Agent 1, our relay systems record that part of our equipment on Earth is destroyed. What has happened? Lucifer answers, an uprising among the Earthlings, Supreme One. It shall be crushed. No, take no risks which might prove fatal to our cause. You have spent enough time in Sector A. A new sanctuary has been readied in Sector B. Proceed there at once. Lucifer answers, I hear and obey, Supreme One. I shall let these insignificant beings overrun the castle, but the final victory shall be ours. And so look, we can see on the screen that the rebels are coming down the stairs. Meanwhile, not far away, recounts the professor, I had parted from the main attack force, and he thinks the people have taken the palace, but their former tyrant still eludes them. It is for the best. They could never fathom the true nature of one so powerful and alien. Still, I must find him and confront him, for I feel all life on Earth may be at stake. And then, rounding a corner, so, says the professor, it is you who have tyrannized this city. Who are you, and where are you from? Lucifer answers, my true purpose you shall never know, but on this planet I call myself Lucifer. And now that name shall be the final thing you hear. Prepare to die for daring to oppose that which no mortal can comprehend. And so he adjusts a lever, and Professor looks up. That great slab released from above at the touch of a switch. I can't dodge in time. Oh no, this great slab of rock falling toward the professor. Pinned beneath the inexorable weight of the massive slab, I heard my tormentor's voice through a mist which seemed to be enveloping my brain. Oh, groans the professor. Lucifer says, so you still survive. Live then. Perhaps it is fated that you and I meet again one day. And so the professor is pinned underneath this great slab, but Lucifer is able to escape. Before my eyes, says the professor, a moment before I lost consciousness, Lucifer disappeared into the very wall itself. But as he disappears, Lucifer says, but remember this, it is ever the strong who are meant to rule, and we are the strong. The professor, his face sweating from the pain, he thinks, who does he mean by we? Is he actually the herald of a far greater menace from the stars? Then, as the paralyzed mental mutant concludes his startling narration, Marvel Girl asks through her mental wave amplifier, Then that is how you lost the use of your legs years ago? And the professor answers, yes, Gene, it is yet another reason why I founded the X-Men, for I knew that one day mankind would have to meet the renewed threat of Lucifer. And so this is the story of why the professor cannot use his legs and why he travels about in a wheelchair. He lost his legs through his encounter with Lucifer, that powerful enemy of Professor X and the X-Men. But even Xavier does not fully realize just how urgent mankind's plight truly is. For at this very second, beneath the southwestern desert, back in the current time, we find Lucifer saying, it is done. I have conquered the one earthly mind which might have discovered my intentions in time to thwart them. And now the time draws near when my race shall fulfill its mission, its magnificent destiny. In Asia, I managed to extend my sway over an entire city at close range, but my experiment with Eunice and the Blob proves that longer distances are now possible. You remember, don't you, that earlier we read how Lucifer was able to hold Eunice and the Blob under his mental sway, and he caused them to commit crimes in the garb and in the name of the X-Men, and he enabled to turn the people's hearts and minds against the X-Men. But evidently that was just an experiment with his extensive mind control. He says soon, no nation shall escape the tentacles of our power. Mankind shall exist only to serve us. And so look, he intends to send his mental energy waves all around the world to control everyone and bring them under the sway of the interplanetary race that he serves. He says, all is in readiness. Only one step remains, but that is the greatest one of all. And so Lucifer speaks to the Supreme One. He says, Supreme One, after years of observation and experimentation and faith and watchful waiting, I can announce that the time has come for Dominus. Who is Dominus? The Supreme One says, at last, our race has waited long to possess this inconsequential world, for it shall be a stepping stone to galaxies and universes which can easily dwarf the paltry Earth. And so they want to dominate Earth, but only as a stepping stone to more galaxies and planets in the universe. Therefore, says Supreme One, let the humans await the coming of Dominus. Wow, I bet he's going to come in the next issue. What do you think? Meanwhile, unaware of the earth-shattering events which have transpired since they left Westchester, the fugitive X-Men prepare to return to their unique school. And so as Angel flies around, he says, it's safe to venture out now. If no one sees my white wings, the rest of you are in the clear. And so as they come out of their hiding place, Iceman says, boy, I thought it was never going to get dark. But Cyclops says, don't relax your vigilance, Bobby. And Hank says, under the circumstances, Cyclops, that seems a most superfluous piece of advice. Making their way back, the four mutants enter their school and they discover Marvel Girl. Asks Cyclops, what happened to the professor? And Marvel Girl answers, Scott, you've returned, but too late. He was paralyzed by Lucifer. Bobby asks, Lucifer? He's returned? And Angel wants to know, what about the prof? Will he pull through? Marvel Girl says, I hope so. He's giving me directions for a beam distorter for the Beast to build. Then start relaying, girl, says Hank, and don't stop to breathe. Because remember, the Beast, even though he's quite athletic and agile and strong, he's also very smart. And so he's the one to build this invention. So feverishly, desperately, with manual skills far beyond those of most non-mutants, a worried Hank McCoy labors against time itself. And finally, Marvel Girl says, "Hurry, Beast, please hurry. The professor's mental messages are getting weaker, almost inaudible. If you aren't finished with that distorter soon." "I'm trying, Jean," says Hank. "It's a complicated piece of machinery, but I think, yes, that does it." And so he finishes the machine. Then he says, "I only pray that it works." As a tense silence grips the X-Men, the distorter helmet is placed on their leader's head, and anxious seconds later, Marvel Girl says, "Look, he's stirring, it's working, he's going to be all right." And the professor can speak now. He says, "Yes, I think I will be all right, thanks to the Beast and Marvel Girl." And the Beast realizes he can move. The paralysis is gone. "And now," says the professor, "we must act. There's not a moment to lose." Then after a fast briefing, Hank says, then it's mandatory that we engage Lucifer, eh?" Iceman says, "We'll fix him, Beastie." And Marvel Girl can take off that headset. "Anything's better than wearing this gadget another minute." "Quiet, Jean," says Cyclops. "Lucifer almost beat us before, if he's stronger now." "And what's the plan of attack?" asks Angel. And Professor says, "While under the influence of Lucifer's beam, I managed to pinpoint its source. Our destination is the Southwest Desert." And so from upstairs, Iceman and Cyclops gather supplies, and Iceman creates a slide. And then he asks, "Am I sliding these crates down too fast for you, Jean?" And Jean says, "No, Bobby, keep them coming." And so you can see that she's using her telekinetic power, and Beast is using his agile feet to gather up all of those boxes. And the professor says, "Beast, you may start loading the plane now." And the Beast answers, "With all deliberate alacrity, sir." Minutes later, a seemingly solid wall of the stately school building rises to reveal a sleek private jet poised momentarily before rocketing skyward. So look, here comes a jet plane out from underneath the very school itself. The professor says, "As you know, I purchased this plane several weeks ago, but our encounters with the Sentinels and Magneto kept us too busy to use it before. It's been especially fitted for short takeoffs and landings." And Iceman says, "You know, Beast, I can't wait to get my icy mitts on Lucifer. I don't like having people think we're crooks." "Nor do I, my frigid friend, but more than our reputations are at stake, if I deduce correctly." "You're right, Hank." And so the professor says, "Although we do not know the precise nature of Lucifer's menace to us, it may well be that we six are the Earth's sole hope for survival." And look, the jet plane takes off, and right in front of the moon we see the silhouette as it rises higher and higher, taking the X-Men to the Southwest United States and their encounter with Lucifer and the startling, sinister secret of Dominus. Who or what is Dominus? Well, we'll find out next issue. And in fact, here is an image of at least one of the robots that serves Dominus. And look, he's attacking the X-Men while the professor is held captive by Lucifer. So we've got a great issue ahead of us as we continue more of the story about X-Men's fight against Lucifer and Dominus and this interplanetary race that is wanting to attack and conquer Earth. All right, so we've got more story ahead, and we'll get to it as soon as we can. I hope y'all are having fun. Love you. Bye bye.